Karen has the distinction of being the first African-American woman appointed to the bench in the state of Colorado. 10 years later, she is the presiding judge for Colorado's only standalone juvenile court and has been reelected once by the public to stay in office. She has earned the respect of court officials, lawyers, and colleagues for her reformation of the court and for the caring treatment of the special clientele served, including successfully securing federal grants to put in a drug court treatment program for addicted parents of troubled kids. Prior to her appointment on the bench, Karen worked in the Denver Public Defender's Office, leaving in 1988 to start her own practice. She also was a half-time judge on the Aurora, Colorado Municipal Court, where she presided in the juvenile division. In her private practice, Judge Ashby worked in the areas of criminal defense, family law, and juvenile law. She was a supervising attorney for a firm that had a contract to provide indigent defense in the Denver County Court and was a hearing officer for the Aurora Public Schools. She has received numerous awards, including the American Association of University Women's Trailblazer Award.
I also am very happy to be back. I have to say, ashamedly, that I have been back once in the 30 years since I've been gone, and I say that, and I think it's been 30 years since I was here. And Williams really did have such a profound effect on decisions I made and how I ultimately got to where I am at this point. And when I first saw the letter and the description of what it was they wanted me to do at this session, and they wanted me to kind of talk about the highlights of my life and how I got here, I thought, ooh, I don't know if I can fill 10 minutes with the highlights. Maybe some of the missteps would help fill in the time. But I think what's been kind of refreshing to me as I've heard people come down the line, my daughter just went to college this year, and I had the real sense from her that she and her friends have this anxiety at this point if they feel as though going into college they don't have it all figured out. And they don't know that, okay, this is what I want to major in, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going to be by this age. And so I'm finding all this very refreshing because we all seem to have kind of gone that path, which was not a straight, direct path. And that was the same for me. I also know from hearing Senator Udall speak that he is probably to blame, as others from Colorado who preceded me, for why when I got to Williams and one of my 4 roommates looked at me and she said, she kind of scanned up and down. She said, "You're the one from Colorado?" And she was from New York. And I said, "Yeah?" She said, "You don't look rugged enough." And now I know why. I have never climbed a mountain in my life. I like the outdoors, but haven't done that. So my path, I suppose, in getting here was a bit meandering as well, in that I came thinking that all of what I liked to do as I was growing up, and I'm going to sound kind of nerdish, I suppose, but I was very interested in police community relations and correctional systems and things like that, and I never really understood what was driving me, but maybe I have Quincy to blame, because when I came here I thought, I'll be a forensic scientist. And so I thought, okay, I'll do forensic chemistry. And freshman year, took chemistry. That went fine. Sophomore year, took organic chemistry. Went and got the little models and thought, this is going to be really fun. By the end of the first semester, I said, oh, no. This is not going to work for a career. So luckily, I had taken a Spanish AP exam, had gotten some credit, since now here I was the middle of my sophomore year, and I was kind of regrouping what I was going to major in. And luckily, I realized that I basically just had to take 1 Spanish course each semester that I had left, and I could major in Spanish. So people ask me, they look and they say, "You majored in Spanish?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." But I now say Spanish literature, and that way they don't think I'm going to speak fluently to them, because it has been a long time. So after I realized that I was going to have to regroup, well, I got to the end of my senior year, and I really hadn't figured it out yet. So I decided to take a year off, and I was born in England, and so I had dual citizenship. And I thought, well, I'll just go and I'll live and work in England for a while and hopefully kind of figure all this out. So I went and I lived in Oxford and I waited tables. And it dawned on me ultimately that the whole part about forensic science, I was placing emphasis on the science part, which was the wrong thing for me to do because I am not a scientist or a mathematician. The forensic part was really what was interesting to me. So I decided, law school, right? Forensics. And my personality and my liberal background, my mother and my father were both very politically active. I can remember them taking me to sit-ins in the public schools when I was a child. So I decided I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to be a criminal defense attorney. And that's what I did. I was in England. I applied. I took the LSAT while I was in London, which was interesting, too, because it was in a men's club. And so those of us who were women who were taking the test, if we had to go to the restroom during the middle of the exam, the guys just had to scoot out into the hallway and zip back. The women had to go down into the basement because they didn't have a women's bathroom except down in the basement. So anyway, I applied to law school, went to DU Law School, and graduated from there, and that's what I did. I was a public defender for 5 years, and I don't know how many of it seems kind of glamorous maybe on TV when you're a criminal defense attorney, but it wears you out as a public defender anyway, because every weekend I'd be preparing for like the 8 trials on Monday, not really knowing which one was going to go. And after 5 years, I looked at my husband, and it was a Sunday, and we had just finished playing golf, and I looked at him and was thinking about going back home and preparing for the trials, and I said, I can't do this anymore. So I had my own practice then, on my own secretary, my own receptionist, and just opened up my own shop and did criminal defense and family law, and did that for I guess about 6 years before the chief judge out in Aurora Municipal Court called me and said, I'd like you to apply to be a municipal judge out here. And I had really never thought much about being a judge when I was a criminal defense attorney. Judges and criminal defense attorneys, you're usually not thinking in the same mindset. So I had not really thought about it, but decided, sure, I'll apply. I got the position, and so for 3.5 years, I flip-flopped. I was a municipal judge for 1 week, then I went back to my practice for a week, and I think it kind of made me a little insane, flip-flopping like that for 3.5 years. But I really became interested in being a judge, and while I was out there, I was assigned to their juvenile division for a year, and I loved it. Because I actually had the ability, it seemed, to kind of impact the lives of those who were coming in front of me, as opposed to the number of adults who, were just cycling through, and I felt like I wasn't having an impact. I was seeing something different with the kids. So a position came open on the Denver Juvenile Court, which is unique in Colorado because it is the only court where you are appointed to that court and you don't rotate. Every place else, you are appointed as a district court judge and you do adult criminal and divorce and all of it. And I thought, this is perfect. So I applied, and the governor appointed me to the position. And I have now been there for 11 years. Other judges, because many of them, as many attorneys, do not like doing any kind of family law or juvenile law, ask me, how can you keep doing this for 11 years? You hear abuse and neglect cases over and over and over again, and delinquency and other issues. But I love it, and part of it, I think, is being able to get away from the day-to-day and the individual case. Because I'm the presiding judge there, I also deal a lot with policy, personnel, which I don't like that part so much, but policy issues. So I go to the legislature, I try and improve what's happening in terms of the court system and the juvenile system in Colorado. And that really keeps me going on a day-to-day basis. I did not go into this job with the intent of being the presiding judge. I was very happy just to sit there and do the docket. But about 9 months into the job, the Chief Justice called me up to her office and said, Karen, what would you think about being the presiding judge for the court? And I thought she was kidding, because I'd only been there for 9 months. The other two judges on the bench, at that point, one had been there for over 20 years, one had been there for over 25, and I thought, she's not going to be appointing me. So I was like, Chief, I'm here to do whatever you feel you need me to do. And so she said, good, you're the presiding judge. And I was like, oh, that was so stupid. But I do. I love it. I love my job. And my experience at Williams, I think, really prepared me for when she said that. I didn't just, run out of the room in panic. But I thought, okay, I can do this. I've had challenges before, organic chemistry being one. And so it actually... The experience, those of you who are here as students, you may not even recognize it as you're going through your day-to-day life here at Williams. I think it's more when you look back and when you are faced with those challenges and you rise to the occasion, that oftentimes you think back to things that happened at Williams and how you persevered and how you were able to succeed in light of some incredible odds sometimes. And so I'm really glad to be back here. I don't plan on waiting another 20. I was back for my 20th, so waiting another 10 years to get back. So thank you.